gonna be in a box for a
The
while.
stuff I want to grab as we go is up on that table.
Oh, yes, that's the good stuff right there.
There we go.
The one with the N on
All
there.
right, Miss App.
Dragons.
Hello, Miss App.
Morning.
Wow, we can really hear you.
Can't you? Well, I got earbuds in. I can really hear you too.
How's the weather over there?
Hot.
Where are you?
Well, I don't know if many of you knew that we had planned a trip to Scotland in March to celebrate ahead of time our 45th wedding anniversary, which, you know, got canceled. So our wedding anniversary comes up this week. So we have taken a little trip to Arizona.
Oh, yeah, it is hot over there.
Yes, it is.
Just so you know.
It's hot everywhere, isn't it?
We got rain last night though.
We did.
Oh, they did right as we came in too. It was nice.
Yeah, and it was fantastic.
It woke me up.
It woke me up too, and I was just, it made me so
Take
happy to
water
hear
as you
it.
go to the Grand Canyon. Please.
I've lost the boardroom.
Uh-oh.
You lost us?
You can still
Yeah, I don't know who I'm looking at because I don't know everyone.
No, I guess there was a tryout for someone.
Oh, there. Okay. I'm back.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Rick.
Reverend.
Good afternoon, sir. How was your weekend?
Awesome, great, hot.
Hot. That's what we all say.
Census, I think.
Was this on the child sexual abuse trafficking and drug treatment? I know in the past there
Oh,
were.
let's hold any discussion for when we get there on the agenda.
I didn't see, I don't know if it was ever in there, if they took it out.
Andy, I'm real thankful that you're here. Because now I don't have the longest hair.
You don't have what?
I don't have the longest hair.
Oh, that's always good in the morning.
Well, I'm just like,
I just thought you thought I might not come
I was
back.
afraid you were gonna stay at Crystal Beach.
I'm not, you know, I thought about it. It was just hot.
All right. Let's see, I think I showed 12 o'clock. So it's gonna take me a minute to get my bearings with this newfangled stuff. But I'm going to hereby call this agenda review meeting of the Nacogdoches ISD Board of Trustees by video conference to order. We are for those in the public, just to kind of let you know, we've got a quorum of board members here at the DSC in the boardroom. We're coming to you live. And then we've got a couple of board members joining us by Zoom as well. So I'm going to, because we are doing this still virtually, I just want to kind of do our roll call as we've been doing. So Vice President James Montoya.
Here?
Secretary Mindy Winslow.
Here.
Leah Beth App.
Here.
Reverend James Irvin.
Here.
Dr. Tyrell Groman.
Here.
Mr. Farshid Narimand.
Here.
Wonderful. Everyone is joining us today. On March the 16th, Governor Greg Abbott granted a request by Attorney General Ken Paxton to temporarily suspend a limited number of open meetings laws to the extent necessary to allow for telephone or video conference meetings in response to the coronavirus. In accordance with those suspended rules, we certify the following. Notice of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. Although members of the board are not gathered in a central physical location, we do have a quorum in attendance. And I will say we do actually have a quorum in attendance in the boardroom at the administrative offices. We are meeting by use of Zoom software application, which allows two-way communication for members of the public. As we would at any in-person meeting, members of the public who have followed instructions on the meeting notices for registering to speak during the public comment portion will be unmuted for 3 minutes to speak. If you would like to provide comment at a future meeting conducted by video conference, please follow the instructions on the meeting notice. All other meeting procedures will adhere to board adopted procedures to the extent practical. An audio recording of this meeting is being made and will be available to the public at a later time. The Zoom software application allows for people to view and interact. We're trying a little new format today so that the board can meet in person. So I want to apologize in advance for any unforeseeable difficulties we have as we are adapting to this new method. And I'd ask for your patience as we navigate these. If you have any questions about these suspended laws, please call the Office of the Attorney General at 888-672-6787 or by email at toma@oag.texas.gov. As a reminder, this is an agenda review meeting. No action will be taken today. The first item on our agenda is public comment, and we did not receive any requests to address the board today. So we will move on to our agenda review. 3A, consent agenda. Quickly, do we have any questions or comments on the board minutes? All right. Hearing none, we're going to move to our business office reports. Mrs. Barber.
Good afternoon, board member Trujillo. All right. I would like to begin with our budget amendments. Let me get to them here. And I'm making up for having none last week. All right, budget amendment A. This is a yearly thing we do when we end our year and then start it back over. I'm wanting to pull funds from fund balance for vehicles purchased in prior year. Those vehicles were not delivered due to COVID, but they have since come in. And so I'm pulling them out so we can pay for them out of fund balance. Item number B. Last year, we pulled from fund balance funds to pay for band uniforms. Well, this was a piece of those band uniforms that did not come in, so they had not been paid for. So I'm pulling them out of fund balance so that we can now meet that obligation when those garment bags come in. It was some garment bags that were not the right ones when they ordered them. Budget amendment C is pulling funds out of fund balance for unfinished construction projects. Those projects are listed there. So every year in June 30th, we stop our year and our projects, we have many projects that are always ongoing because we do a lot of work during the summer. And so now I'm pulling them out, these unfinished projects or just future projects or funds that haven't even been assigned to a project yet.
May I ask a question about that, Ms. Barber?
Yes.
On the future projects, I noticed that amount there, $684,000 and a few dollars. Is that still what's remaining out of that lump sum we allocated several years ago for facilities, or where exactly is that money? I mean,
so every year Function 81 gets a budget. And then, so they have that. So like, for instance, last year they got $500,000. And then they also may have had some leftover budgets on other projects that the project was finished and there were funds left over. If there's ever funds left over, I automatically drop that into future projects.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. So what you're saying is that is money that was not spent last year that we're trying to effectively rolling over.
Yes, it is.
But we don't do that for everybody.
No, we only do that for Function 81.
And so that would be adding to their balance. So without having the budget right in front of me, if they hypothetically had a budget this year of 500,000, this would put them up to 1.1 and some change.
It would put them, yes, that is correct.
Okay. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't, and I understand what you're saying there from both sides of it. I'm just kind of like, well, we don't roll everybody's budget over to the next year.
No,
So,
we haven't ever rolled everybody's, but we've, at least since I've been here, we've rolled over 81.
So is there, since we only have done that for 81, can we roll it over for other budgets, or is that possible or not?
No, we've only ever done it for 81.
But is that like a policy or a standing?
No, it is not a policy. It's just been our practice.
I think this might come from the fact that they were always behind on construction and maintenance and repairs. And if there was a penny left there, they wanted it for because we were so far behind, and we still are.
Right.
We're catching up, but we're not caught up. And so every penny is important that we spend it on what it was assigned for, I think.
Well, in the past, you're right. People have questioned whether we took 81 funds from them. And we've always been able to say, no, we don't take 81 funds from them because we always roll it over. That has been what's been in practice for the past at least 8 years.
Would it be a problem if we didn't roll that over at this time and just said, leave that option if a project comes up that we may want to fund out of fund balance?
That is fine with me. It's not assigned to any project, so I don't see any problem with that.
What do y'all think about that? I mean, that would just basically then, if a project came up that needed to be addressed, they bring it to us and say, we need $100,000 to do a water fix over at this campus or something like that.
What is the status?
Yeah.
What is the status on that list? And I remember there's a list that you have on the in the board book of all of those projects that we set that money aside for.
Those are already done.
Those are all done?
Well, those are being, that money is set aside for those already.
Okay, so outside of that, then that's what she's saying.
Yeah.
The 600. I got you. Okay, I was confused on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with that.
I have a bit concern because some of the programs may save some money this year and have it for next year to buy larger purchase. So that most athletic programs
I can
probably
see it
will
in
do
some
that.
of those programs that get a budget for, uniforms and they don't spend it all. I mean, can they not use that to?
Well, and
See what I'm saying?
if I would say, if something like that comes up, they just, and we take board action at that time to commit that fund transfer from fund balance over into operating budget. I don't think it's our desire to
Not meet their needs. Right.
Moreover, just try to be good stewards of the finances.
I guess the way I'm understanding is that you're saying we have that, they automatically used to get that money left over, put back in their fund. This way, we decide if fact they need it, and we're not gonna deny it from them if they need it, but not just automatically assume that they're gonna get that money. put back.
Correct.
But-
Yeah, and I think Dr. Groman is right. Back when we were trying to do roofs and HVACs and all that,
Yeah.
we kept rolling that money forward because we needed it, but at this time, we've got most of those projects addressed. So I think we can,
We haven't heard from the
Approach it.
Reverend or Leah.
yeah.
So
Reverend,
it was
Leah,
go,
what are your thoughts?
sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ms. App.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so then it would just be put back in general fund.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's fine.
Well, as I was looking and rather listening, I really didn't see what we were, I guess, concerned about. If we have approved a project and the project doesn't get complete, and then it appears to me, if we roll the money back to the general fund or to the fund balance, then we would have to come back and redeliberate that same action again from a board perspective. But if we've approved it and the money is there, then what's the problem?
Right. These aren't projects that we've approved. This is a surplus of funds. And so basically we would just be saying, when the project arises, we would make a decision then on how to spend those funds. These funds are not allocated toward any project at this time.
Just the future ones.
Yeah, the
But
future.
it is budgeted for the 81 is that the one?
It's under item C, future projects, $684,608. Instead of rolling that money over into the current budget, because we have allocated funds for that item, that 81, function 81 this year. So instead of just rolling that forward, we just leave it in fund balance to use as needed. And I'll say, guys, we still have a long way to go on our bond projects, and we may have to lean on fund balance at some point.
Well,
Mhm.
and we don't do a rollover for any other program. So
Yes.
that I would think is what we would want to be consistent.
Yeah.
So, Ms. Barbarick, how would that affect your accounting?
It wouldn't, it would not. These are, they're basically, they're only committed to 81 and no particular project. So it would not have anything, it wouldn't have effect on me.
So, meaning unused funds, if I heard correctly, we allocate 500,000 a year. So the
Right.
unused portion of that money would go back into the fund balance.
Yes. So
Okay.
function 81 has 500,000 available, already has 500,000 available to them. So they already have a budget. Plus these other projects that they are continuing to finish.
Okay. Okay.
That's a good word, isn't it? Good analogy. Any other questions on that before we move forward? All right, Ms. Barber, go ahead, let's move to item D.
Okay. This is a chairlift that was approved and ordered in prior year for, I believe it's located at TJR. And it, again, due to COVID-19, it hasn't come in yet, but we are still obligated for when it does come in. So I'm pulling it from fund balance.
And there won't be an increase or decrease because it hasn't been delivered? I mean,
No. No, there won't be. Item number E This is pulling funds from fund balance to pay for student devices. So the devices are costing $761,051. We already have $275,000 budgeted, so I'm only pulling $585,000 from fund balance.
Ms. Barber, how
Right.
many devices actually we order?
I can help with that.
Okay,
624 devices, teacher devices. And hold on just a sec, let me find the student device.
When you say teacher devices, are you talking laptops, right?
yes, this budget amendment is actually for just the student devices here though.
Uh,
For the student devices, we ordered 3,429 Chromebooks and 1,615 iPads.
Thank you, sir.
Item F, asking to pull funds from fund balance to pay for a one-year subscription on security on the new devices as well as Chromebook sleeves. And when I say the security, that is and Michael may be able to answer this better, but it's to keep the students safe from going to bad websites. Is that correct, Michael and Kirsten? Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, that is correct. It is both a filtering device or filtering software service as well as a monitoring and tracking service.
Item G, this is to transfer funds from the technology fund to pay for the staff laptops. So I'm pulling it from that fund that we discussed before that we have put money away every year. So I'm allocating it to the different functions. Teacher devices, that's the largest, but then 12 would be librarians, 13 would be our instructional coaches, 23 are our principals, 31 are our counselors, 32 are social workers, 33 are nurses.
Michael, I just have a question. I want to just be clear. So the devices for the teachers, are those the ones that we got at 50% off? And for staff, is that going to be 50% off from the money or not? Is that different? Are we talking about different money? Okay, that's okay.
Right, no, these are not 50% off.
Okay.
Item H, we received some donations for convocation. This is putting the funds into donations as well as into the account to pay for convocation. Item I is pulling funds from fund balance for a vehicle purchased for student nutrition in prior year, and it has now finally been delivered. Item J, I needed to add 29,000 for the interest on the bond fund. I had picked up the wrong amount, so I'm increasing debt service expense for 29,000. Any questions, further questions on budget amendments? All right, I'd like to go on that next to donations under $2,500. We received donations for convocation, as well as $500 for carpenter from Woodman Life, and some gift bags from Spirit Outfitters for the high school. Next, our budget amendments, investment report. So we have pulled funds out of our investments to go into general fund to cover our day-to-day expenses. This is a normal practice of cash management. So when we need cash, we pull it from our investments, and when we have an excess in our bank accounts, then we put it back into investments. I pulled funds out of, on the second page, certificates of deposit. I pulled funds out of one of our CDs matured, and rather than committing at a very low interest rate for several months, I've pulled it out of the certificate of deposits. And currently I am investing excess funds in the pools, since those are not committed for a period of time. Any questions on the investment report? Okay, and then if you have any questions on any of the other business office reports, I will take them now.
What's our current fund balance, Lisa? Taking into consideration the monies that we've spent or will be spending after our action on Thursday night.
Okay, let me go back there. We can find that on the combined budget amendments.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am projecting that we will end the year with about $29 million in fund balance. And so after we pull these items out, now of course I'm saying 2 million, but if we exclude that 6 million, it's going to be less. We will be at 27.9 million. And that's an estimate.
What page are you on there?
Yeah.
It is page 24.
There we go. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on the business office reports? All right. Nope. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I'm going back and forth. So, the bond. I am, okay. I had a question about some checks. Are we still there?
Yes.
Is that what? Okay. All right. You know me, I'm just trying to learn all this. And so on the check register, I had some questions that I couldn't reconcile, and by looking things up. And I'm just trying to get a better understanding of where some of our money goes. And miscellaneous bothers me, and so I'd like to see what under miscellaneous, where that's going in light of,
Right.
Okay,
I'll give you a
no, I just had a question.
Oh, okay.
No, I have a question about two that I wanted to know what category to put them in my mind.
Okay.
So the first one, let's see, I'm looking in, I'm going to look in the dates. The first one is the July 16th. Paula S. Rogers, miscellaneous contracted services. What was she, where was she servicing?
So
For
Paula
4,000.
is with Solution Tree, and she does some professional development with us. So
Okay.
that particular one is we were rewriting essential standards with our teachers.
So she's with Solution Tree. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Hill. And then the other one was the 30th, and it's, oh, it wasn't miscellaneous, but it's Lisa Muchow King, and it's just under $1,000 for supplies. And I was wondering, is that office or is that classroom, or, you know?
I would have to look that one up. It's some kind of supply. I don't know if
Yeah.
is she a teacher?
Yeah, I'd just like to know. And if you just email me, that'd be fine. I'd kind of like to be able to put it in my.
What that one is. Lisa.
All right. So, Ms.
Okay,
Parker,
that was it. Yeah.
thank you, Mrs. App. Reverend, did you have any questions before we move on? All right. Hearing none, we're going to then go ahead and move on to item 3, purchases over $25,000. A is Region 7, Dr. Hill.
Thank you, President Fitch, Superintendent Trujillo, and board members. There are 3 different co-ops that we annually purchase from Region 7. The first one being the Title I Part A Professional Development Support. The second one is our text resource system. And the third one is the Academic Content Cooperative. And so as you can see, the first one and the third one provide professional development opportunities for our teachers that they can attend. The third one is all the 4 core academic areas. And then our text resource system, and that's where we keep a lot of our curriculum bundles, like our scope and sequence, our instructional focus document, vertical alignment documents, and so forth.
Any questions on this item? We'll move to item B, contracts and services. We've got 3 items under that. Dr. Hill.
Thank you, President Fitch. The first one is Glenda Hinesley and Associates. We do some contract work with her where she is the one that completes all of our, or a lot of our federal program ESSA applications and things of that nature in our compliance reports. She also is instrumental in us doing our comprehensive needs assessment that we annually do in May. I believe this is the 4th year that we've been utilizing Ms. Hinesley's services. She is definitely an asset to us. The second one is the Edgenuity software. We use it at both Malcolm Rector as well as at Nacogdoches High School. Malcolm Rector, that is our main curriculum portal for those students to use online. And then at Dr. Crespo's campus or at Nacogdoches High School, that's for our credit recovery in our learning lab. And then the last one is our annual expenditure with SFA. It's hard to believe we're already into our year 7 of our STEM Academy. And so we're very proud of those students. We have a total of about 131 students. So we're very excited about that.
Does the price increase when the number of students increases for that program?
You know, the SFA has been really good to us, and they've kept the expenditure or the amount the same for the last couple of years. So we're very pleased with that.
What about the number of students, Dr. Brumman, what about the number of students that are helped at Malcolm Rector and the high school for credit recovery and using all these different this program that we're spending money on? About how many kids are we helping with that? At high school and Malcolm Rector with that program? Is it ESSA?
I believe at Malcolm Rector for Edgenuity, I believe last year it was upwards into about 80. And Dr. Crespo, can you answer regarding credit recovery at the high school, just a roundabout number?
I know we start off the beginning of the school year, generally about 50, 60 students. And then second semester, we add additional students. So probably about 100 to 150 students.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's the roundabout.
Thank you, Dr. Crespo.
I like how you've grouped these together, Dr. Hill.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Any additional questions on the contracts and services? All right, we'll move forward to item C, which is CDWG. Mr. Martin.
Good afternoon, President Fitch, members of the board, Dr. Trujillo. Administration is recommending that the board approve purchase of Go Guardian program from CDWG. This program allows the teachers the ability to monitor students during remote or face-to-face learning. It also filters teacher laptops, Chromebooks, and iPads. This quote includes protective sleeves for those devices as well. If you recall, last board meeting, I informed the board that the administration may be coming back asking you for additional peripherals for the devices that you all approved last month. The total amount for these devices and programs is $124,199. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
That amount, Michael, will that increase? I mean, will we have to go back next year and renew that plan for that amount, or how will that work? I mean, next year, will it be less or will it be more?
It will be an annual subscription. This year it is $3.35 per device or per user, I'm sorry. So yes, sir, it will be an annual ongoing cost to the district. We will negotiate with the vendor in the upcoming year as we go along to try to get a better price for next year.
So if you increase devices, then it will increase the amount for that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I had a
Mr.
question.
Montoya, that price also is it's less the sleeves. It's the subscription portion only that would go up. The sleeves is about $85,000, so that's not something that's going to be a yearly expense.
Okay. Thank you.
I had a question about so it's allowing the teacher to see what is on the screen of the students. This must be similar to what we used to use in the labs?
Yes, ma'am.
So a teacher can pull up a class of students and she can see can see what they're looking at to make sure they're focused and doing what they're supposed to do. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. Making
Okay.
sure that he or she can make sure that the students are on task by seeing their screens. Yes.
Good. Little big brother, but we have to live with it, don't we?
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions?
All right, hearing no more questions on that, we'll move to item D, Apple, and that's Mr. Martin as well.
Okay, last month as well, board, or earlier this month, we mentioned that we would be coming back to you all to ask for a 4-year protection plan for the iPads for students, as well as a program to help us to manage these systems and also to track the iPads outside of school property as well as on school property. That program is called JAMP. It allows us as well to be able to push apps, to put restrictions on the iPads and to track the iPads. The total cost for this purchase is $225,589.10. Again, this quote and this service is a 4-year protection plan for the device as well as for the program JAMP, the management to manage the devices.
I have a question, Dr. Cronin, for Mr. Martin. So if somebody takes this and let's say they take it to Henderson, can this program render that iPad non-functional? I mean, that's what we can do with when we track my iPhone, if you can't get it back, you can make it where it just wipes it clean and it can't be used again. Does this program do that?
Yes, sir, Dr. Groman, you're right on track. It is just like the Find My iPhone feature on iPhones. Yes, as soon as it hits an internet connection, or the next time it hits an internet connection, we can make it just a paperweight. We can erase all data on it, and it cannot be logged on to from that point going forward.
Could we still track it though? Could we still find it?
Yes, sir. We can still track it as long as it hits an internet signal.
Okay.
Could you elaborate on the restrictions that it puts on the iPad?
Some of the restrictions this is an issue I've been dealing with at home. So we're trying to get our kids back in order and ready for school on the 31st. So we've implemented screen time. If you're familiar with screen time on your family apps, you can limit your kids to be able to not watch YouTube videos at a certain time, or not get on the iPad at all at a certain time. So this program is very similar. You can lock them down to restrict them from being able to watch YouTube, and several, or pretty much any program that the teacher chooses is not beneficial to the student.
Okay. Okay.
One thing to be clear with regards to these iPads, they come with the technology for the new pencils that we have, but we will not be purchasing the pencils with these. These are $100 a shot when it comes to replacement of pencils. And in many instances, when you do order these iPads, the pencils, if they wind up being lost, which it's not really connected to the device, but everything can be done without the pencil as well. So that's correct, Mr. Martin, correct?
That is correct, yes, sir. And board, if I may, I want to thank Ms. Morris and her team for getting, and Ms. Barber's team for getting all this information together and making this a successful presentation for you all. Thank you.
I have one more question, Dr. Groman, Mr. Martin.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have these wonderful programs, but will the teachers and administrators get some type of in-service, and where does that money come from? Is that included in this, or that's from somewhere else?
That's going to be somewhere else. That's going to be we have our digital learning staff that is going to provide some of that staff development for these devices. Ms. Morris, you have a comment on that?
Yes, it comes with training built in, and we'll be sure to push that training along to our teachers through our digital learning department.
Okay, what about next year when we have new teachers, that will also be included? In other words, there'll be a continuity of this so that if you're a new teacher, you don't have to figure it out on your own. Somebody's going to teach you how to do it, particularly on the very new teachers.
Right. And then we're also excited to have our EduHero program as well, so we can take any video trainings that we have and put them in EduHero, and our teachers can come in and watch them. So if they need to come back and they forgot how a certain part of that program works, they can always refer back to it in EduHero.
Excellent. Excellent.
Mr. Martin.
Sir?
This is Coach Farshid. Those restrictions that you can put on iPads or Chromebooks, who is controlling those? Is this pre-controlled, or parents or teachers or students themselves are going to adjust how far they can go or what they can see?
The district will have some restrictions, Coach, but mainly the classroom teacher will be the one who will be in control of the content that the students receive or don't receive.
So there will have to be some collaboration when a child has multiple teachers, if they make sure that one teacher thinks they don't need this, but this one thinks they do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, there'll be some dialogue with the district itself, because if YouTube is an allowable tool to be used, we'll have to set up some protocols in order to go through and vet exactly, does it line up with our philosophy of what the kids need to get access from through teaching and learning, and is it just something that needs to be, that a teacher decides to use on a whim with her content. We want to make sure it's also vetted through some really what works in the benefit of our students, not just because we see it or we personally used it. And actually, when the kids log on to our system and they get off the network, any added apps to these iPads, it'll automatically default them back to the apps that the school is requiring them to use in order for them to access. Some kids can actually get in there sometimes. They're very ingenious. They'll get in there and start doing some things and delete some apps or add some apps. Well, because of this software that Mike was talking about, it sets a set default that the district is allowing the students to use through the process. So even though the teachers have input, we will be working with campuses to really validate what needs to be used. If one campus is using it, then we need to see what we can do to spread it out throughout the district rather than have pilots, little pockets of using technology here and there.
Any other questions? All right. Hearing none, we'll move to item 4, adoption of the tax rate for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. This is Barbara.
Good afternoon again. So it's time to adopt our tax rate. And there have been no changes in our tax rate from what was proposed in the budget. We are looking at a further reduction in the in our M&O tax rate. So it's at 1.0547. And again, that's what the budget was built on. And the debt service of 24.5 cents.
How does our combined rate compare to last year's?
Let's see. It is about 7 cents higher.
And that would be due to the bond.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And this is, again, our first year to increase our debt service rate. So we had 2 years of being able to keep our rate at the lower amount. And now it's time to increase.
Now it's time to start that incremental.
Yes.
Any other questions about the tax rate? All right, hearing none. We'll move to item number 5, consideration of the 2020-2021 Student Code of Conduct. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, President Fitch, members of the board, Dr. Trujillo. Not much has changed in the Student Code of Conduct since the 1920 school year. Mr. Tarvin has worked very hard to review our handbook. I'll bring your attention to page 7. There is one addition that we've added as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, which deals with face mask. And what we've added is basically that the masks are going to be worn in schools, and also that we're going to look at it as part of the student dress codes. So examples, we don't want the district or administration is recommending prohibiting messaging or imaging on those face masks, which may be provocative or obscene, disruptive, or promote or depict illegal activity. And also we are restricting the use of bandanas, just simply because bandanas are associated with gang activity. So these are just a few of the highlights of the addition that's been added to page 7 with regards to face mask. We did have a conversation and Mr. Tarvin this morning about the last sentence there in that paragraph. Face mask should be free of writing, initials, and pictures. The writing portion of it, again, is just speaking of material that may be inappropriate or in some senses gang related. But we did talk about pictures because we realize too that our dragon logo is a picture. So we're talking about perhaps going back and recommending a change there with regards to making it stating that district logo materials would be acceptable.
So unless it's a NISD logo, they have to be solid color, right? No little flowers, no little unicorns. Okay.
That would be our recommendation. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I know a lot of parents who aren't going to be happy if they have to go out and buy a whole bunch of new face masks.
Well, that was good. How do you determine, do you all come up with a list of what are acceptable images or?
Well, if it's solid color, it doesn't matter. They basically, with that last sentence, said it can only be a solid color.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna, excuse me, Leibeth, I'm gonna kind of, when I read this, I was confused why we up above it say examples of prohibited messages and then come down and say face masks should be free. It seemed counterintuitive, and I question, do we need that last sentence?
Do we want it? I mean, are we really going to be limiting it that much?
Yeah, because it seems to me that if it had a disruptive or illegal activity or any of those things, it's covered under this other sentence.
And I think that
yeah,
I think you've got a bunch of littles that are going to be having to wear face masks.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way you get them to do that is to make it fun.
Yes.
And just
yeah.
put out my grandchildren, and I just bought them a bunch of, they don't live here, but I bought them some cute things that I know, like one was unicorns because she loves unicorns, and the other one likes this.
Yeah.
So we just kind of made it fun to match their shirts.
Well, your mask
And
matches your outfit.
You know, I'm coordinating.
So while I understand the need for the safety and not wanting it to become something that gangs identify through, aren't we accomplishing that through the other sentence there?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Martin?
We are, yes, ma'am. The substantially disruptive. I think another conversation that we've had is that we've in light of recent current events going on across our nation with regards to Black Lives Matter, the Confederate flags, and so on and so forth, we were attempting to make sure that we limited those types of masks from coming into the school, causing any kind of disruption. But I agree with you. The sentence above it.
Yeah.
Can we
Let's cover it.
Political. You can't wear a political.
I agree.
Political statement.
Right.
Statement.
But I think that would be under disruption, because no matter which one you're wearing, somebody will be disrupted.
Yes.
And then also, I think you should include politically,
Slogans.
political references or whatever, because that could become disruptive as well.
You know, we've monitored T-shirts for years, and
Right.
it'd just basically be the same thing.
Right.
President Finch, I see your question. It's no problem for us to strike that last sentence. It's covered already in the sentence above it, so we can easily strike that out.
My other question, I know this is kind of titled the wearing of masks, and what made me go to this is because you specifically said the use of bandanas are not permitted, which that's fine. Bandanas are considered the least effective anyway, but I'm wondering, instead of saying wearing of masks, should we say wearing of face coverings? And do we need to address gaiters and face shields as allowed?
Good point.
I've talked to a lot of parents of little ones who are asking, will face shields be permissible? Because number one, you'll be able to see their face, and a kindergartner, and they also feel like it might reduce the amount of touching to the mask itself. So I feel like those are a couple of gaps there that we need to address.
We might be able to address that, Mr. Martin, with regards to wearing of masks and or face shields would suffice that on both measures, especially on that header where it says wearing of masks. one might be able to have a wearing a mask or face shields, because those are the only two items that would be worn allowable based on what the CDC is telling us can be worn. And then once again, on that first sentence, any mask or shield will worn at school in response to COVID-19, we can also add it there. And that way we've covered both face shields and masks that are there. And I think the rest of that is very relevant to what Ms. Finch is mentioning.
And then they say
Here's my concern regarding either or, mask or face shield. If you have a young child that wears a face shield and they go outside, they get it knocked off, there's no protection if they're around other kids. My preference would be is that we say if they wear a shield, they also have to wear a mask. That would be my preference for safety purposes. So I don't know how other people feel about that.
I'll note on this though, this is not a requirement that our kids wear masks. This is simply saying, if you do wear a mask, these are your guidelines.
Okay.
So I assume that the mask, wearing of mask would be a part of the plan that we're gonna hear tomorrow, I would guess.
The start of school plan that you'll hear. Yes, you'll hear more about the requirements about what we're wearing with masks, but this is actually just talking about what masks are allowable, what shields are allowable.
Okay. Mr. Martin, Dr. Grumman, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
When we look at what's written here, is this come from TASB, Region 7? Is there any local school that has a similar policy? Have you checked with Lufkin or Henderson or somewhere else? Or are we this is our own policy and it's not like anybody else's?
We did some looking around, Dr. Groman, but we can look at some of our local districts like Lufkin. And who else did you mention? Did you mention another district?
I said Henderson.
Henderson. Okay.
Go north, that's the first one you hit. Go south, that's the first one you hit.
All right, give us an opportunity and we'll bring you back something on Thursday that hopefully will please the board.
All right, Holly, let's go ahead, since there's going to be some answers to some questions. Let's move this to the action agenda, please, so we can hear that discussion.
Absolutely, I'll move it.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Neermont.
Mr. Martin,
Sir?
this is Coach Needleman. On page 4, it says school district authority and jurisdiction. And number 2, it says during lunch period in which a student allowed to leave campus. Isn't Nacogdoches a closed campus, especially Nacogdoches High School?
Good
Yes,
point.
sir. We are a closed campus district.
Okay, how do we allow a student to go out for lunch?
The district has just been during lunch periods.
Is it
Coach, I'm gonna ask Dr. Crespo, do you have a comment on that? I'm looking at page 4, number 2, right, Coach?
Yes, sir.
We are closed campus. We do not let students out for lunch. The only thing they're going to be able to do this year, just for social distancing, is they're going to have some areas outside in the front, and the picnic tables and some other tables that our CTE have created, so they can sit out to eat lunch, but they cannot leave campus for lunch.
So what's the
Can we-
specifics? Specific said leaving campus.
Coach, let me comment on that as well. Coach, I'm thinking that may be also referring to possibly when students are on a field trip or on an athletic trip event.
That's number 3.
It just specific, it said lunch.
Yeah, number 3 addresses the other activities.
We may be able to strike that. It's not applicable.
Okay.
You know, during the mega lunch, I was on a duty and a lot of kids would leave campus with notes from a teacher or even counselors. And I could not stop them, however I tried.
Mr. Martin, Dr. Groman, have another addition that just came back to my mind. If we look at in the table of contents, it has face mask or mask. We need to have the same word used like there, but in the index, we have no index to find face mask or mask. So we need to be sure and be inclusive to have it in the table of contents, in the place where it is, and in the index. At least that's what I think.
Yeah.
Good suggestion. We will get it taken care of.
Any other thoughts or comments?
What we decided on number 2?
Strike it. We'll have a chance.
President Finch.
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to make sure that the board is notified that the information that you were, for instance, the masks and some of the other items that are covered under Smart School Start Guide, those don't go to the board with approval. Those are things taken straight out of CDC and dealing with the guidance from the governor and the commissioner. And those are some school start issues with regards to masks and the encouragement of wearing the mask, where to wear the mask, taking temperatures of students, staff with masks. That document does not come directly to the board for approval because it comes straight from the state agencies, and those are posted and printed. So the masks are covered with regards to what is Nacogdoches doing with regards to masks. And because the governor is saying that masks must be worn if we're not practicing social distancing, then masks will be required to be worn for all individuals, including staff and students, especially if we cannot practice social distance. But to get more information directly with regards to school start, when it comes to all of those measures, it would be in that school start document that we have published on our website.
Thank you, sir. All right. Hearing no other questions at this time about the code of conduct, we'll move on to item 6, first reading of TASB policy update 115. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, President Fitch. As you all are aware, TASB has released policy update 115. It affects about 15 different policies throughout. The main policies impacted that have the biggest changes are policy DIA local, policy FFH local, and policy FFG, all of which deal with the new Title IX federal laws that were passed and implemented Friday, August the 14th. That is where you're going to see the major changes throughout your policy manual and update 115. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you all may have concerning update 115.
Mr. Montoya, I believe you mentioned you had a question.
Yes, I did. Under the reporting of and training of child abuse and sexual abuse and trafficking, it says you have to provide training. Who's going to provide that training to staff and to everyone in the district?
Mr. Montoya, we have a program. The name of it is not coming to mind right now, but we do have a program that all employees must go through that covers the child abuse reporting and as well as sexual harassment and other required trainings.
Okay. And then the other question, I know that in the past when I worked for the district, the law specifically states that anyone that has knowledge should report abuse or neglect. And if they do it in good faith, there's no repercussion for that. I also know that there were some principals that refused to let their teachers or any staff report that because they wanted to handle that. And so I didn't see anything in the policy that addresses any of that, other than whoever knows how to report it.
I can respond to that, Mr. Martin.
Yes,
Go ahead, sir.
Well, I'm actually glad he brought that up because that has been a question for a number of years for administrators, whether to allow Child Protective Services to interview a child at school with parent present or without the parent present, or whether to allow them to interview with a teacher present or an administrator present. The policy now and the law strictly says that there has to be neither one present, and that the officials may interview a child who they suspect has been abused or neglected at school without any other adult supervision in the room. So that has changed dramatically. We do now have clear guidance on that. By the way, that the program came to mind. A couple of my colleagues text me. The program for the training is called EduHero.
I think during the SLI summer training, that was a very extensive program concerning that. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's responsibility of a first person who is aware of to report it. In other words, do not pass the buck to the principal or someone else.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
Any other questions? Hearing none. We'll move to item 7, T-test appraisers and calendar for the 2020-2021 school year. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Madam President. Once again, this is an annual housekeeping chore for the board. Texas Administrative Code 19, Chapter 150 requires each district to establish a teacher evaluation and support system appraisal calendar. You have the calendar in your board book there that the administration is recommending approval of as well. The board is required to approve personnel who have been trained for this T-test appraisal system, and we've listed those administrators in your board book as well. So I will tell the board, we'll let you know that we know that there will be at least 4 more administrators who will be coming, we will be bringing back to you once they receive their licensure or their appraisal qualifications, once they've met those qualifications. Any questions about T-test appraisal?
I'm just wondering, what incentive is that for? Do you seek out these individuals, or do they volunteer, or?
No, sir. The majority of these individuals are administrators who supervise teachers or even other administrators, and so the campus principal makes the determination who is going to assist them with doing the appraisals for teachers on the campuses. There, you will see some district personnel on there. Those are in place just in the event that a teacher wants to appeal their appraisal. And so district personnel then would go in and be a second appraiser. So you'll see district names on there as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, the addition here of one, it's a new name on the list, but no stranger to us, Mr. Zemanek. Is he in an administrator position now?
Mr. Zemanek, yes, ma'am, is going to be assistant principal over at Brooks Jones Elementary.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. Passionate young educator.
Very passionate. If the board knows that Mr. Zemanek won the Teacher of the Year here within the district. He's also regional Teacher of the Year for secondary. So we're very proud of him.
Very nice. Any other questions on the T-test appraisals? All right, we'll move to item 8, hazardous bus routes. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, pleasure to present the hazardous bus routes for 2021 school year regarding, and then a resolution regarding hazardous traffic conditions. According to policy CNA legal, the district may apply to the Commissioner of Education for an additional amount of up to 10% of its regular transportation allotment to be used for transportation of students living within 2 miles of the school they attend who would be subject to hazardous traffic conditions if they walk to school. Some of those hazardous conditions that exist in our area are areas with no sidewalks, areas where students may have to walk across a freeway or an expressway, an underpass or an overpass or a bridge, an uncontrolled major traffic artery, an industrial or commercial area, or any other comparable condition. The superintendent is recommending that the board approve the attached list of hazardous bus routes and adopt a resolution regarding hazardous traffic conditions for the 2021 school year. And we have listed those hazardous bus routes on the very next page there, as well as a resolution for the board's consideration and approval.
Mr. Martin, I have a question. I noticed that there were no bus routes from Mike Moses mentioned as hazardous, but yet there's no sidewalk from there, from Mike Moses going west towards University. Is that relevant in this area? I said from Park Street, from Mike Moses to University, there's no sidewalk. And why is that's not included, or why is that exceptional or not used?
Dr. Gorman, I do not have an answer for that right now, but I'll assure you I can have you one by the end of the week or by Thursday. Let me check into that, please.
All right. Any other questions? Holly, let's go ahead and move that one to the action agenda as well, so we can hear the report back on the Mike Moses question.
Yes, I'll do that.
All right. Item 9, teaching of Constitution as required by federal law. Dr. Hill.
Thank you, President Fitch, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Trujillo. This is an annual approval for us. So basically, the state of Texas tells us that we needed to teach the Constitution during the week of September 17th. In this instructional calendar, it falls on a Thursday. So we will designate the week of September the 14th through the 18th to teach the Constitution.
Any questions on Constitution Week? Okay. Hearing none.
Thank you.
That takes us to item 4, our executive session. The board will now conduct an executive closed session to discuss items posted on our agenda pursuant to the following provisions of the Texas Open Meetings Act and as allowed by Texas Government Code sections 551.071, 551.074, and 551.129. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of discussions in closed session will take place after the board reconvenes in open session. It is now 1:10 p.m. And for those who may be joining us via Zoom, we will return no earlier than 1:30. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.